now streaming live on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube also now. Hey guys, people who are joining us on YouTube, good evening. We have another 6 minutes to go, so hang on there. And if you will, you may use the comment box to say hi, ask your questions if you will. Hey guys, people who are joining us on YouTube, good evening. We have another 6 minutes to go, so hang on there. And if you will, you may use the.
Why is there a lag?
Yeah, I think we are picking up audio from Anurit. Anurit is probably testing in the background.
Oh, okay.
She's playing the YouTube video now or something like that. Is that correct, Anurit? Is that what's happening?
Was there any?
Yeah, I could hear my own blah blah that I spoke about YouTube.
Okay, I think Samir, it's from your end.
No,
I didn't
play anything.
Prasad talked to the YouTube folks, and then after some time there was a playback.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe either you or someone else is playing the YouTube.
Yeah, I was. Sorry.
Okay. Sure.
Please don't confuse us.
Okay, so we have about 6 participants coming in. Hey guys there who have joined us live on Zoom, hang on there. Thanks for joining us on time. Hope our audio is clear to you guys. You can use the chat box to kind of let us know that you're there and you can hear us well. Good. Thanks, Ayushi. Thanks for letting us know.
The overall work from home is working well for you guys, Suryendra?
Yeah, it is working well, Samir. So 99% of IBM is now working from home, and 95% of worldwide IBM is working from home. And it was very interesting. It was we didn't expect it, but it was almost at the flip of a switch. It was seamlessly done. So it was quite a task, honestly.
Wow,
it's working all right. Yeah, so it's working well. Yeah.
You're facing any internet issues at all with so many people working from home?
No, thankfully, no. Bandwidth-wise, at least from the IBM infrastructure, we haven't faced. Okay. But in pockets, like in Mumbai, because of the telecom, so there has been some issues. So
we can't hear you.
Hello? Can't hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Is it my network or?
Yeah, Girish, seems your network is kind of, see if there's anything in the background that is running, you may want to switch that off. Maybe an email getting down.
Did you hear what I said, Samir?
Yeah, I heard every word. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
So I think Girish, you couldn't hear.
My network playing up.
Yeah, now you're okay.
Yeah. So we did onboarding virtually. We did all trainings virtually. It's been very interesting, actually. So it's a new way of working.
Fast tracked by somebody we hadn't imagined.
Yeah. So Corona is in our favor.
Top management Corona lesson. Corona is now in top management.
Okay, we have about another 2 minutes to 7.
And that's what they should do. I mean, after the lockdown and all goes away, don't move back to business as usual.
Yeah, I think we can just, at least most of the people can work from home.
Yeah.
If not all.
Exactly.
You save a lot of cost.
Yeah. Commute and all that stuff. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
I've heard some large companies say that we are going to be 75% work from home, even after the lockdown.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is interesting, which would kind of mean very different things for real estate and other things.
Correct. Yeah, it is.
We'll have a lot more indoor stadiums, I guess.
Yeah, so, but still, we don't have solutions for work from home, really strong ones, right? So we are boxed up in one room. You're all alone, working. So we still have to. I think it's a great opportunity for designers to come up with some real strong solutions there.
No, it's interesting you said that, because this is anecdotal information. I heard from one and saying that their software engineers are delivering much better than the designers. So they were anyway used to sitting in the cubicle and working. And
okay.
we needed bean bags and social interaction and whatnot, right? So,
yeah.
True.
Okay, the number is increasing, and it's just about time. So I guess people are clicking on the link at 7, and hopefully the number should go up in about a minute. Once we have a good fair number, we could get started.
It's very clear that Prasad is the numbers guy.
Maybe that's because that's the focus today. Yeah, it's 41. Cool.
47.
Yeah, but Ayush, you hold on to that question. That's a very good question. Now we'll take that question probably for everyone who would join in, just like you. And I'm sure there are design managers who are joining in. They would also love to kind of hear this question and the panelists' response to that question. Yeah, so feel free to ask that question one more time, because yes, at Huge also we have interns, and it's a good situation, and we need to address that too. So hold on to that question. We'll take that.
Should we start? I think people have also joined through YouTube, so
I see.
we can.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Start.
Hi, Narendra. Narendra is joined in. Jatin, I can see, and Jatin says hi too. Okay. Yeah. So I guess we could get started. The numbers are still kind of going up, and since it's a 1 hour session, I would kind of get started. So I would like to thank all of you who have joined virtually, logging in through the Zoom link. Our panelists, thank you for joining in. The men in black there, and people who are joining us on YouTube. It's a fine Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining in. We looked at the registrations, and I think we have a good wide spread of design managers, product managers, designers, and interns as well. So good. I think we should have a very well-rounded conversation there. I'm Prasad Bartake. I'm the host today. I'm the co-founder of Huge Designs, and my main responsibility is to look at design and the operations. I would say all of you take down notes, if you will. Type in the questions in the chat window here in the Zoom tool. There's a question box also that Zoom provides, and use the comment box or the chat windows there on YouTube if you're joining on YouTube. We'll pick up some of these questions which are relevant as we go. Otherwise, we always have 5 to 10 minutes reserved at the end of this webinar, which is 1 hour. So yeah, so today's topic, impact on design in the post-pandemic world. So we all know that 5 to 6 weeks have gone by, and we have all quickly geared up to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, let's connect from home, use all these WebExes and the go-to meetings, and talk to each other, pick up the phone, do that extra collaboration. And that's the story that we are hearing. So that's kind of settling down. And as we all do that bit, we are also hearing that the businesses, clients, customers, decision makers, decision influencers, all are kind of thinking about, hey, what does it mean for our businesses to stay afloat, or also take the revenues up, take the business to the next level so that the entire world economy still booms. And to all of that, I think designers, creation, design systems need to kind of support that, right? That's not going to happen in isolation. So wonderful situation for the design community. And that's going to be the focus of this conversation. And then we have these wonderful stalwarts, 20 plus years of experience, going to talk to us about that story as we go about asking our questions. I'm going to represent all the community online here and ask these questions to Sudhindra, Girish, and Samir. So I'll take another minute, introduce you guys to this audience that we have. We are reaching about 60 attendees right now. I don't know the YouTube number, but maybe some similar number out there. So wonderful crowd. So let me introduce Sudhindra. Sudhindra, hi. Sudhindra loves to create order in chaos. He's a chief design officer at IBM and leads a team of 100 designers. And I read somewhere that he says design is inner transformation. So I'm really curious to see how he connects all of these things together today while he helps us learn some of the new things. His responsibilities range from enterprise design, culture in organizations, and service design too. We have Dr.
Thank you, Prasad.
Hi, Girish.
Hi.
Girish is Dr. Girish Prabhu, PhD in human factors, 25 years plus of experience. Currently is a senior VP at HFI, has founded IFD. We're all kind of affiliated with that. IFD stands for Institute for Design-Led Entrepreneurship. He's also co-chair of IMI's National Design and Innovation Committee. He's also passionate about education. So we have someone who's like Sudhindra, who's, big enterprise. We have Girish, who's innovation and entrepreneurship. And then we have Samir. Hi, Samir. And Samir loves man and machine dynamics. And he all connects that to business and connects to the efficiency and effectiveness with which designers come out with an output, which has business impact. So we're going to kind of see a lot of different perspectives here and wonderful learning space for all of us to be able to, gain something very valuable out of this webinar. Yeah, so I think we are all set. The number is continuously increasing, so that's wonderful. So I'll begin with the very first question for all three of you guys. At a very high level, a bird's eye view, according to you, what's the nature of impact that this pandemic has had on design and technology both? You're seeing that very up close in different perspectives. If you could kind of give us a bird's eye view picture and with some examples, and if you will, also bring us quickly to a micro view so that we could really see what does it mean for our designers in such situations. So the floor is yours, guys.
Yeah, being in academics, I guess I will go first. Yeah. Professors love to talk, I believe. So it's interesting. I mean, it's the mixed bag of reactions, right? I mean, a lot of work has moved to online, especially people in the digital world. And for me, because I have been working in design futures and responsible design area, I've been looking at recent reports and recent surveys, and it reveals some very interesting things, right? A recent McKinsey report basically says that consumer optimism across the board is going down, consumer spending is going down, which has direct impact on consumption. Yeah? At the same time, it's more so in Europe and US, but not so much in India. In China, we are still optimistic. Consumer spending has gone towards mostly essentials and a lot of digital entertainment and social media consumption, right? So it seems as if, I mean, there is this mixed bag. Digital and low touch activities, including online shopping, is increasing. And in a recent readiness survey that was done by Will Stowers, you kind of see that almost 83% of the organizations have started doing work from homeland policy, not just for COVID, but post-COVID, and thinking about it to say, okay, this is a good thing to happen maybe, that work from home that reduces the pollution and whatnot. reduces the commute time, especially people in big cities. Um, at IIMI, we also did a recent survey, and we will be publishing it soon. And what we find is about 80% of the survey participants having said that their client behaviors and management has changed, including reduction in projects, funding stopped in certain ways. It's a mixed bag in certain way. But what is impressive for me is from our survey and other surveys, there is a ray of hope that people are participating, helping each other out, want to contribute at a local, national level, and that's what the situation is, and which is really really interesting.
Do you have some numbers of what does this mean for organizations, especially who have a design setup?
Yeah, I mean, for design setup, for example, almost about 57% of the firms, for design firms, have said that they are facing negative impact, and they will face this for the next 6 months. Design setups are also saying, and these are organizations, right? They're saying that work has changed, but not everything has stopped. So there is because of remote UX and so on, projects are still continuing. In big organizations, what I'm hearing from our survey as well as the other surveys is not that much of an impact has happened on the working in big firms.
I see. Okay. Sudhindra, Samir, you wanna throw your perspective in as well?
Yeah, sure, Prasad. Hey, thanks, Girish. That was very interesting to hear. And again, I'm going to echo a lot of these things as well, right? So one of the things that we are seeing is especially in the design side of things, things have gone virtual. What was considered difficult earlier on, such as, you got to have designers in the same room, you got to, be local, and all of that stuff has completely been washed away. Those stories don't hold anymore. So that's, I think, in a way, good for teams that are residing in India and offering their support to the global, at a global level. So virtual ways of working, virtual design thinking workshops. Till about a couple of months ago, I was one of those guys who did not believe that was possible. And today I'm, doing that. It's just that you can't do it all in one day. So we used to do these workshops, for example, 2 days or 3 days. Now you got to split that up into multiple days, almost like 5 days of 2 hours of workshop. So that has its own set of challenges with clients and focus and folks within the team. From a business world perspective, so we have seen right, airlines have like shut down almost, right? Have stopped flying. So there is a huge amount of business impact going on. There are many models of revenue don't work anymore. So those have completely, they need to look at different ways of operations and different ways of revenue streams coming in and trickling in. The customers, we are seeing the customers of our customers are facing issues as well. So for example, people can't pay their bills online, and simply because they are vulnerable at this point in time. So what do our clients do? What do our organizations, such as a large telecom or a bank, do in those cases when their customers can't pay? How can you balance the empathy that you have and the need for efficiency and profits, as well as running machinery? So that's something I'm seeing quite a lot. At a world, globally, we are seeing the increase of uncertainty and anxiety. There is also a talk about Yuval Harari is speaking about digital dictatorships becoming the norm. So you have all these apps that they're asking us to install, and it's very interesting. We need to install those apps. Just recently, a couple of days ago, there was the app that was released in Australia. Very interesting. Some designers were the first ones to say, is it privacy ticked, right? And then what kind of data are you taking from me? So those kind of questions are arising on these. So we are in a very different sort of world. These 3 months, I think, has pressed a reset button on this planet, as I saw somewhere. That was a great quote. I remember it pressed a reset button on the planet, and I don't think we're going to go back again on the 3 months before time. So it is a new normal, and it has changed quite a lot. So we got to seriously, I think, constantly rethink. And this is what I'm also saying. Another important point is, how do you embed human centeredness in all that we do? So that's another aspect that's coming out quite importantly, because you might miss that while you're trying to rapidly change things.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Uh, Samir, the question that comes to my mind is, so it's been 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and usually across all the organizations, and that's my feeling. And you guys have seen the different world, but projects are still kind of going on. The current work at hand is still going on, and I'm sensing that maybe a month, 2 months down the line, right, when the projects that are at hand probably are done, and the business that we have at hand gets done, that's when probably we will have to start new planning, new reach out, new collaboration, because projects are going to be new, clients are going to be new. What are your thoughts? Because that I feel is a different dynamics, because we were used to some projects and the planning was already done and we knew each other, and we were then going home and working. But new projects would mean new team members, new clients, all remote. What are your thoughts? How should we kind of get up for that?
See, I'd like to kind of address the first question of impact on design and tech. Mm-hmm. And Girish and Sudhindra has already outlined the macro impact that has happened. And I will talk about the micro impact. It's not just on design and tech, but it's on each and every individual on this planet. For the first time, each and everyone has started thinking about what to think. They were used to, certain things. Once I go through college, oh, this is my job, this is what I do. And now I have a set, attitude, belief, which is a set mindset. And I keep on doing next 20 years, 30.
Yeah,
but this has accelerated that entire thing of, what do I think now next? What will happen? There is so much of uncertainty. And it's not just at a particular level, but it's at all of levels also know that the topmost CEO also doesn't know anything about this. And that has compelled everybody to think about what of design and design thinking, because this is where the impact is going to be. This is where the people who are going to think the right things, be resilient, are going to come on the top. And therefore the segue, the answer to your question of when this current thing is done, what do we do about the new thing, is going to be those who are going to be resilient, those who are going to have that success mindset are going to come out nicely without any hitches. And that's going to be the success mantra of going ahead smoothly, because any which way the world is not going to stop. Right? And especially for designers, it's a good opportunity for them to actually think in the right sense, design their mind and mindset in such a way that they come out on top.
Interesting. So some of the takeaways that I'm getting from here is, yes, as designer and irrespective of the position, right? Because the CEO and me, I think all of us are caught at the same level. Again, I'm saying when I'm saying me, I'm someone who's probably hands-on. I might be a product manager, I might be a business unit owner, or I might be a CEO. All of us are at the same level at this point of time because of the situation. But what I'm getting from all three of you guys is that, okay, have a macro view, see what's happening in the world, and at the same time, be present in the 5 minutes gap that I'm handling a particular situation right now, and how intelligently or how aware I am to be able to kind of cope up with that, versus kind of a old school now that, okay, I have a plan, I have a project, I'll do it, and the world will go along. That's not the case anymore. I have to be always on top of things to be able to continuously add and hold it, and not just say, oh, I'm going to tag along on a work or a project. I think it's a story that I'm hearing here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm seeing few questions that have coming in here, and someone is saying, hey, well, it's a little hands-on question, saying that, hey, how do I just create a design thinking workshop? And seems like the question is, how do I do it remotely, because we are all working from home, and design workshop seems to be a lot of whiteboarding, talking to each other, nullifying each other, deliberating, and stuff like that. Any one of you want to kind of take that particular question, if you guys have had an experience?
I can take it. Because one of the things, I mean, there are so many tools available now, right? And then as we speak, people are making the tools better. For example, the platform that we are using currently, Zoom, it became one of the most sought after platform. Then it had its own problems, and they continuously shifted the whole design team or development team to settle those bugs, right? So there are tools like this, whether it's Skype, Zoom, WebEx, and so on. So that's a good thing to connect with people. Zoom allows you to connect up to 100, I believe. And then there are a lot of whiteboarding tools such as Mural or Miro. A combination of those two allows you to do whatever you want to do. My experience with Institute for Design-led Entrepreneurship, because we have done many courses for our students, some face-to-face and some online through these techniques. And I would say about 80% of the fidelity is something that you get. But you need to redesign, as Prasad said earlier, you need to redesign the way you want to think about this. If you have an 8-hour session, you cannot run an 8-hour session. You have to break it into smaller pieces, give breaks, and then divide it across multiple times. But it is possible.
Okay.
Can I add, Prasad?
Sure. Yeah.
When Girish is there, what you can do is you can just add 2 cents, quite literally. So I'll add my 2 cents. So so the thing is, so the reason I want to add is because whoever asked the question, I would like you to please go and visit ibm.com/design. There's a wealth of resources on how to do workshops remotely. The team of IBM put together this almost overnight, and realizing the need for it. There's some amazing stuff there. We use Mural and a combination of Mural, Slack, and Trello quite asynchronously. That's very important to do when you're doing these online virtual workshops. Do it asynchronously. And there is a lot of preparation that is required as opposed to doing in-person workshops. Remember to do that. Again, it's 2-hour workshops that you can, it's just 2 hours per day. You can't get people for 8 hours. It's very difficult. So for 2 hours, and also extremely small, short activities, but very specific and focused activities. But when you do all of those well, you actually can get some really good outcomes. So we are seeing that, we are forced to see that, but also we are seeing it quite a lot of productive outcomes that are coming out of these workshops. So do look it up. Even Mural has done their own webinars on how to do remote workshops. So it's a lot of content out there, honestly.
So Sudhindra, the next question that comes to my mind is that, since you have led large design teams for enterprises, and then there are several products and systems that you kind of design, redesign, and innovate, what could be the direction that you would suggest that design teams could consider to add that design value, not just to retain, the status quo, but to be able to just magnify the design value, especially in today's world and moving forward?
Yeah, see, that's a great question, Prasad. So I love this quote that I came across recently, right? Never let a crisis go a waste. I'll repeat, never let a crisis go a waste. I love that. And what we are doing in the design team is we are passionately, zealously devouring all that is out there in the world right now. There are a lot of free content that is out there. People have released movies. Gary Hustwitz's movies is now free for all of us. There is a lot of templates, tools, methods, frameworks that have become accessible. So what we are doing within my team is we run a design hour. We call it the design deep dive, every single day, on all the working days, every single day in the morning, 9 to 10. all my team, 100 plus people, dial into that. So we do lots of interesting things. We do activities, book reading, all of that every single day. So we are making the most of the extra time that we are now using. We are getting in, the lack of commute and so on is giving us that extra time. We're making use of that. So upskilling, reskilling to be relevant, speculative design, the futures thinking. How do you apply futures thinking into design thinking? So those are the things that are going on. Designing for AI, they're not easy. Conversational UI. How do you do that? And we keep on reskilling ourselves. That's the first thing that we're doing in our team. And I again want to suggest to all the design teams to look into that. The second thing is what I'm seeing is we are coming up with lots of solutions for the client problems, right? So be it a bank and be it a telecom retailer, there are lots of the stores don't open anymore, right? So there is a huge number of calls that they get. So the volume has almost overnight become 10 times, for example, in call centers. So and therefore the emails also have increased. So our clients are facing all of these issues, because of which we are coming up with solutions quite rapidly, right? So what can you go and address with your clients? So when you're coming up with those solutions, the interesting thing that we are seeing from the design point of view is somewhere the design element becomes a back burner. It goes into the back burner because you want to rapidly deploy. Everybody is in panic. The client is in panic. You're in panic. The sales folks are in panic, and the delivery managers are in panic. So it is the responsibility of the designer to elevate his craft and to actually embed design so that the human centeredness doesn't go away in those solutions. That's something I'm seeing. So we are looking at it is extra hard because you really want to do it quickly. You would like to have a nice 12 weeks of nice time, do this design the right way, and then go on for 6 months. We don't have that luxury anymore. So how do you quickly go on rapidly, and how do you embed design in all that we do is the second one that we're all working towards. So those are some of the things that I would suggest our design teams and designers to sort of focus on, and that's our conversations.
So it seems that, yes, that's the perception that design takes time and it's like a process driven. And on the other side, I've seen that, designers are able to quickly have a good turnaround and have solutions and multiple solutions. I'm also hearing that, hey, looks like I have to catch a running train. And you also mentioned skilling. So I have these two questions that came to my mind. The reskilling part, what are the things that probably designers should be focusing on right now? Pick up these things and learn. And then the other thing is, what is the skill that I would probably need, or I have to kind of keep at the back of the mind? It could be communication, it could be my skill itself, to catch that train running. Any thoughts, Samir, Girish?
See, apart from the normal skills that we already possess, or the designer should possess, like critical thinking and a design mindset, a scientific approach, and creativity embedded. Right now, it's time for a lot of sense making, right? And the sense making, as Sudhindra was saying, we don't have 6 months to do that. We have to do it very quickly, and therefore the skill set that one must possess is being adaptive and novel thinking, right? To adapt to that situation quickly, and you quickly kind of come up with something that is creative. It might not be 100% perfect, which is what designers tend to do normally. They'll keep on iterating till it's 100% perfect. It's a time for experimentation and a lot of data-driven experimentation. So whenever you kind of put out a solution, quickly look at what the results are and tweak your solution according to what the results are. And that actually requires adapting some of your methods, processes, and your thinking as well, right? The other thing is, other very important skill set is to have a transdisciplinary approach. It's not no more enough to say, that is technology and I don't understand that. Okay, you must understand that. You might not be an expert. but you must understand the technology and how it works. Not to the level of, hey, I understand, HTML, that it has, tables. Not that anymore. A little bit more deeper in what the technology can actually do, and especially with newer technologies like AI and VR and mixed reality, you must know what it takes to implement that other technology. And therefore, the designer who is now, or who was a very T-shaped personality, let's say, who is probably looking at multiple things, a generalist and expert at interaction design or visual or something, has to now be a pie-shaped personality, which means they have to understand about something else as well, right? Some other technology in a more in a little bit more depth to be able to collaborate. The third and most important skill is going to be of that of a collaborator, right? Till today, we have been cooperating with people, which means that at arm's length, I will do what is necessary. I will throw my design off the wall, or come and explain it to you, or give annotations. Now you figure it out. To almost like a partner who kind of holds everything together, because designer is probably the centerpiece here, and collaborating with different people in whatever sense it has to be, and developing that skill is going to be extremely important.
Yeah.
A couple of things to add to that, and very well said, Samir and Sudhindra. One of the things not only designers but their managers and then the businesses have to realize is this is not work as usual, right? You cannot think about this as a 9 to 5 work, because as somebody said, it is working from home and working for home. That's most of us are doing. And it's putting a huge amount of psychological pressures too. You're alone, you're working on things. So I would say that develop this skill set. I mean, it's a life skill where you reach out to people, collaborate. Don't think that you have to do everything yourself. I'm not talking about just from a work perspective. If you feel low, reach out to people. Like Sudhindra said, I mean, activities that are done on a group level. At HFI, we do this chai pe charcha every day at 4 o'clock. And it kind of opens up. I mean, it kind of, and I'm new to HFI, so it allows me to interact with people that I didn't know. And then that's how I would suggest. So don't think about this as, okay, I have to do 9 to 5 job and this is the deliverable. Work with your managers, work with your organization to be open about what's going through you and how you would like to change it.
Yeah, my experience has been that, yes, designers are usually a little more individualistic, but the creation is always a multidisciplinary, or multiple people showcase, iterate, and then collectively take it to the next levels where the business is, wow, this is great. And if you see at the macro level, designers are actually the enablers, and they should be kind of proud of that. So yeah, some good takeaways there. Thank you so much. So Girish, you had international exposure, and you've worked with Kodaks and Intels of the world, and I'm sure they had their ups and downs and such challenges, if not a pandemic, but something which kind of had a threat to that businesses. You have helped companies innovate, and you've advised entrepreneurs. What's your visualization of what the future of design would be?
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting question, and I'll kind of take examples or learning from both the pandemic as well as from my experience at Kodak. When I was at Kodak, and this was during its heydays, it is not that the strategies were not there. Everybody knew that digital is coming and it's going to kill us, but people just decided, the management decided that it is business as usual. We have huge margins with our film, and the rest is history, right? Now, similar things are happening with pandemics. This is not the first time that we are hit with a pandemic, right? We were not born, but 1918 flu killed 1/3 of the 30% of the population, right? Or infected 30% of the population. Then we had a H1N1 flu in 2009. And according to Center for Disease Control, a huge amount of people died. But what is bothersome for me is right after that, we went back to business as usual. Consumerism increased, spending increased, look at the pollution that is happening and everything, right? So my worry is that of how do we, this is the time to retrospect, and this is not going to be the last pandemic. This is not going to be the last lockdown. We are going to face this more and more. So we need to understand how do we live with this. And this is where I'm putting my hat as like, design preferred futures and responsible design type of approach. As designers, what can we do? Because I'm telling you, I feel by looking at the previous examples of pandemics, we will bounce back. World will bounce back. World will start doing its. Yeah, we will lose a lot of unfortunate lives, but unfortunately, but it will continue, right? And what they're saying now is COVID-19 is 10 times deadlier, but we did not learn our lessons from H1N1, and that was a precursor for us, right? So hopefully we'll learn from this some of the behaviors that we are contemplating and retrospective as we are sitting in our own houses and not being able to walk outside. That will happen. Now, on a design front, on a work front, I feel that many of the designers are coping up with remote UX. We'll have to become more conversant with that. As the other person asked a question about, well, how do I do workshops? It's not only about workshops. How do I work collaboratively? It'll be different. It's easier to just walk across your cubicle or be in a war room and work. So that has to be changed. But I also feel with the points that I made earlier, that designers need to start thinking and taking a bigger role, get involved in strategic design, policy decisions, life, and including life transformation. Who are you? Who do you want to become? And change one person at a time and see, hopefully the world will change.
Okay. So we have Samit. The next question is for you. What and in taking in the energy that I'm seeing here and where the whole conversation is going, the whole business and economics has really kind of impacted, and there's a lot of systemic changes are now going to happen, and I think that's true with design as a whole or as a practice as well. What do you think? How do we as designers really elevate the whole design value for the businesses, where businesses kind of take notice that yes, it was design that contributed to the business growth. Right now it's other way around, right? The businesses are there and they have kind of have design departments, maybe a bunch of designers. How could it be, if not upside down, at least equal? What are your thoughts? Because in the last few years, design has really kind of taken a center stage in India, and pandemic, I think, as Sudhindra also said, it's an opportunity for us to really take it and then show. What are your thoughts? How do we elevate the design value and show it in front of the businesses?
Yeah, somebody had put on the chat that they are not able to hear me. Is this okay now?
Yeah. It is okay now. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, design has been gaining importance, but I believe that the real value of design, just like pandemic, right? Pandemic goes away, and then people go back to normal life. The value of design really has not been by the business leaders, very frankly. And the way they should be using design to really make not just life simpler for people, that is really not happening. Okay, so from a designer's perspective, from a business of design perspective, I see that there are few changes that are going to happen fundamentally. It's no more enough for designers to look at current problem at hand or current scope at hand. And the client says, hey, this is a problem, you work on it. No, the designers have to go beyond that and know much more, in fact, than the client about their business. That's where the designers have to reach. And that's where the real value of design, they will also know, because still today it's all about business driving design. Now design has to drive business as well, and business is just one aspect. As the reality of this pandemic draws, there is also going to be a lot of good for people that we have to think about, right? So when I'm saying that you have to know more about clients' business, more than the customer, it beckons everybody to have more collaboration. That's point number two. And I've already made that point, but can't stress enough that the techniques of collaboration must change. They will go through a metamorphosis. Designers will have to take a kind of leap, and they have to take the lead in the collaboration. The third thing is that the criteria of what good design is will change. Till today, it was only human-centered design, but what the users are thinking, and you do formative testing. Oh, this is good, efficiency, effectiveness, and all of that. But especially in domains that are closely affected. Some of the examples we have already seen from Girish and Sudhindra, right? Supply chain or healthcare, transportation, people who are calling more. The definition of what is good may have to change, right? Have you now thought about when this pandemic will come or next? What have you thought about in the design? That question is likely to come, and many more such in between. And therefore, the business model of design for companies like studios like us may also change.
Okay, Samir, looks like we are losing your voice. We have a static video. We just lost you for the last 10 seconds or so. If you could repeat.
Is that okay? Is this okay?
Now it's okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So the last point I was trying to make is that for companies like us, design studios or small design firms, the business model will change. And I don't know, I'd like to hear Sudhindra's views on that. That from being a vendor or a supplier, it has to be like a partner and share the risk of the customer and then get the reward. So the entire business model will change, and that will also have a larger impact on the business of design. Sudhindra, what do you think?
Yeah, hey, Sabir, absolutely, Sabir. That's, if I understood your question correctly, the people who serve our customers, how do we serve them the best way in terms of making sure, see, they can't see far enough. Maybe you can. So how do you sort of co-risk along with them? So that's absolutely, those are some of the conversations that goes on, with our clients all the time, especially in these situations, right? Everybody is figuring out what to do next, and we are helping them figuring out. So we've put up what kind of offerings make the most sense. We are going all out to make sure our clients are are served the right way, and the fact that we hold some really strong relationships is helping us, because we haven't let them down in their times of crisis, and this time they're looking up at us. So these are hard times for sure. So everybody is going through this cycle of consolidating and business continuity as opposed to investing anywhere else. So we are co-investing, helping them take through. Yeah, absolutely, that's a completely important point.
So,
okay, and I know that Girish is also fond of responsible design as a topic, right? And probably the criteria for good design and bad design probably falls under that. So Girish, you would like to touch upon that? How will that change?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll sound like a broken record when I say this, because I think currently, the way we look at design, and I'm talking about from user experiences, it's all about creating fast, desirable, amazing experiences, which is all built on this will make you happy and buy more, right? And that has to change. It has to go towards what I call as responsible design, and it's a topic of its own. Maybe we can talk about it some other time. But there are frameworks on how do you think about responsible design. I have a podcast coming up soon on that area, and something that is very important. And as I said earlier, this is not the first time or the last time that we are going to go through this upheavaling experiences, and hope we can learn from that and create a better world. And that's where design can play a substantial role.
Yeah, and just recently, if I can just add one more thing. So Girish, just recently we were discussing the experiences, fast and so on. and how that's a US construct, capitalism, right? I think we
Yeah.
discussed that recently, and we were discussing in a different forum as well. So what does it mean if we had gone, thousands of years ago, and if design and the user-centered design, the human-centered design was born in India? Would fast be a trait that we would have applied at the time, or would it be thorough explore at this point?
You hit the nail on the head, Sudhindra. It's like design schools we used to call as the northern hemisphere versus the southern hemisphere approach, Western approach versus Eastern approach, and those are the things that one needs to look at. And there are frameworks. It's interesting. We have lots of tools available to us to do this kind of work, but we are in this rut of delivering the best possible design that will sell and make more money. And so that is something that we may have to rethink. But again, as a topic for a different session. Yeah.
So Samir, I have a question, a follow-up question on what you had said, because I see that there are a lot of these designers who are kind of hands-on, really passionate about design, and here we are saying that, hey, you know what, reach out, draw a chair against the table with the client and the management, and sometimes there's this barrier also. And I might have some ideas that could actually make a business change. Number one, or number two, I may not. But still, in an attempt to grow, how do I make that that leap? And what do I really need to do now? So eventually, I should be able to achieve that. What should I be doing?
If I understand your question correctly, you mean to be more collaborative? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So that, imagine that maybe you are a business unit head of a company, and you have been, you have sent some project to me, and I'm doing some project, but thereafter I don't get to talk to you. Now, how do I grab your attention so that we could collaborate? So the design team, maybe me and my design team, and you and your team actually kind of collaborate, versus just look at it as a one project thrown over the wall.
Yeah, there's no magic wand to that. Definitely one needs to think about what is the value that you're going to provide. Otherwise, you're not going to get an audience. And that value is inherent in the goals that that person may have for individual and for the business. And if you know more about, see, if you can come up with that insight that nobody has got yet from the business side, and create the first solution, and then go and talk to them, I think you will have a better audience, and therefore the confidence in the designer itself also will, right?
Yeah.
Participate in different conversations that you have with other team members, product management, right, engineering, your business and marketing. What normally I have seen is when these forums are there, the designers kind of put their side and then keep quiet. They don't have to contribute when it comes to marketing or business or engineering, right? So this is where they could probably start contributing and attention first. These are some of the things that they could do to start.
There's an interesting question here which talks about, hey, we have a lot of infrastructural and data available on the digital world, maybe because of the digitization of things. What happens with the physical world, like the product design and maybe the automobile, medical devices, probably which don't have the user interfaces and the connectivity or the IoT of things, right? How does one cope up with this? It's a question from Avinash Balera, who is a product designer.
Clarification. I mean, are you talking about how would you design them?
So what happens to, yeah, so let's imagine if there is a mixer grinder, right? A lot of mixer grinders out there, and what does that happen? How do these products kind of get designed in the post-pandemic world? Because right now we don't even know how many mixer grinders do we need, what are the users' expectations and need. They are there for the ages and they'll continue. But in the post-pandemic world, would these product designs, these kind of products get redefined, redesigned? and so on and so forth. Is that what Avinash you were wanting to say? You can go ahead and chat and let us know.
If I understood that correctly, Prasad,
Mm-hmm.
I think the question was data is available for the digital world. So more and more, the digital world, the products will become really good.
Mm-hmm.
But the physical world, it won't be as good. It'll remain as it is. So how do you, design for the physical world where you don't have as much data, whereas the digital keeps going, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my take on that is like, let's look at some concrete examples of digital world, right? Well, let's look at the mixer grinder example. I don't think the mixer grinder demand will stop once the orders can be placed. If you needed a mixer driver, or if it has to be repaired, that's not currently. I mean, I had a problem with my AC, and a person came in with all COVID-19 precautions. I took the precautions, he took the precautions, they came and repaired it. You go into space design, space design is changing, right? So one needs to look at not just COVID-19, but as a pandemic, what effect will it have on product as well as non-digital spaces? That applies to cars. Eventually, I mean, you'll have a driver, let's say, driving you around. You may have to think about redesigning the car, because how do I keep safe distance from each other, right? So now, how do I design it? That still is digital, right? But how the supply chain works eventually, that is not going to stop once the lockdowns are or is relaxed. As a product designers, you will have to rethink about what this new design will look like.
Hmm. As an extension of that, that predicament that Avinash made and the responses that you guys gave, as we are busy with our projects and our clients and work at office and contributing to work, there is also that responsibility towards design community, and barely we are doing anything there. And in such situations, I think the responsibility towards the larger community, the design community, how do I go about adding my value to the design community? What are some of the guidance that you would like to give us, designers, to be able to go finish the work, but also contribute to the design community as large?
My take on that, and it's interesting. I mean, it's like, the recent survey that we did through IAMI, almost 95% of the respondents said that they are engaging and they want to engage more to help the community, not only at local, regional, or even at the national level. And that was an amazing experience for me to see that kind of a thing. At the same time, a lot of them were saying that, okay, that they are financially hit, their projects are not coming through. And that, to me, is what a designer is. A human-centered designer always has empathy and thinks about what can I do to make this better, right? So there are multiple things I think we can do on a tactical level. For example, data visualization and connecting the dots of health data, something that is very important right now, right? Or for example, let's look at disease tracking. Arogya Setu is launched and all of us are downloading it. But there are concerns, as Sudhindra said about the Australian application. What is the privacy? What are the concerns? Can we look at that and feed that into the Arogya Setu team, the National Informatics Center? UX for marginal folks. What can we do for daily wage earners? What can we do for elderly populations? So there are a lot of things like that the designers can. My feeling, and I have said that as part of another discussion, is designers should start exploring, engaging with multidisciplinary teams such as psychologists, epidemiologists, sociologists, and policymakers, and bring their skills of human-centered design, or what I like to call as a humanity-centered design, to think about humane and effective lockdowns, because the lockdowns will be there, not only this, many more, and post-lockdown ideas and solutions at community, regional, and state levels and national levels. That's what I feel. So designers actually can contribute substantially because of the traits that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point, Girish. Can I add a point, Prasad?
Please do, Sitendra.
Yeah. So, see, I mean, we have made such a big deal of the lockdown, but do we realize that there are lots of people have been always on lockdowns? So, lots of homemakers in India have been on lockdown for a long time. Senior citizens have been on lockdown. People who can't afford to go to the places that they want to go, they have been on lockdown. So it's just that when we all went on to lockdown, we actually realized what was the problem there. So I think our empathy's definition of empathy should really, really broaden, and that is the role of a designer. I believe. So we have always been seeing designers as custodians of beautiful and custodians of functions and so on, but actually we are custodians of empathy and human centeredness in the organization. And I'm using human centeredness to mean what Girish means in terms of humanity centeredness. So I think that's where we can really sort of make a difference. A case in point is the moment the COVID started becoming such a big one. So you had lots and lots of organizations. The World Design Organization launched, with Design for America and IBM, launched a whole series of initiatives on problem statements where they called in volunteers like myself, and I was involved in, for example, redefining remote learning for primary school kids. So we've gone there, looked at what the community wants today. So MIT opened up their challenges, so designers flocked into solving those challenges. So the need for connecting and to be part of the tribe and to do something for the community, I think it is inherent. Sometimes we suppress it for whatever reasons, but I think, like Girish said, we got to bring that out and take our skills. It is quite valuable when you do that, and those are the most fulfilling things as a designer, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add to that, and don't wait for somebody to call you and say, oh, come for this design challenge or something. I mean, you can make an impact at your local level with the work with your grocery store person and say, okay, let's look at what can I do for you. Work with your society, work with the elders in your community. And so that there are things that we can do. Again, very impressed with the survey that we did where, as I said, 95% of the people said they are contributing in that term. So hats off to all of you. All of us, I guess.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah. So I think this is kind of also leading towards one of the strong trends in design, which is the responsible design. And you guys have dealt with it, and you've kind of mentioned right now or touched upon it partly. Samir, do you want to kind of tell more about that perspective where we are in the corporate world designing and catering to our customers? Of course, they are also solving the real user problems, but there is also this important responsibility designers have for creating responsible designs. How do we influence businesses that we are currently working with, but also help society at large? How could I make that segue as a designer?
See, the social impact of any design, it's not just the responsibility, or designers don't have authority on that. Yeah, you should actually see how these social entrepreneurs, the kind of thought process they come with. They are also designers, right? And it's not just that you have to be educated in design to do that, to make a social impact. And these guys wonderfully and make an impact, and there's a huge impact on things that they make. Some of those small companies that you see out there, they have made huge impact. And therefore, taking a cue from there, what you could probably do is, have more participation in events that are community driven, and drive those, certain methods and processes that design brings, right? How did these entrepreneurs become successful? Or how did they, and success criteria is different for them, right? They're measuring it through, an impact on the community, or impact on pollution, impact, let's say, Ganga or water, right? So similarly, if you can bring that perspective in the community, for example, there's a lot of problem about garbage around there, or biodiversity getting killed on the hills. Just around you, there are so many groups that are active. why not go and participate there and say, hey, you know what? We have learned this in the corporate world. Can we try this as well as another intervention so that more and more participation happens? See, in all of these, social things or most of these things, citizen partnership and participation is the crux. A small group keeps on doing that and then it doesn't become very effective. But on a larger scale, if the citizens participate, and then how do you kind of use design interventions to motivate this participation of citizens could be a good, challenge to take on. How do you use persuasion techniques that you normally use on the internet, saying, hey, free, limited seats, so on and so forth? How do you do that here so that citizens can participate? This is just probably use case that I'm giving. But this is how you could contribute. And ditto, I agree to both of their points, saying, you don't wait for anything. Just go and, do your bit and something good will come out of it.
Yes. So okay, it's almost time. I think it's 7:59. So I'll kind of take a pause. So I can see that there is this pop-up that has come up on my window here, which has few questions. I'm going to kind of scan some of these questions. I've kind of answered some of them while you guys were responding. I kind of quickly typed in some of my responses. I have a question here, interesting question from Javed. Why every company asks in interviews all about this UX process, UCD, design thinking, blah, blah, blah. But after joining, they don't give the time for research or UCD or anything else. And I would definitely, let the men in black answer this question in their own sweet ways. But my 2 cents is, which I always tell people, is that it's time for you to start interviewing the interviewer so that you know that you're getting in the right ecosystem, not realize that once you're in. So yeah, what do you guys feel, Girish, Sudhindra, and Sameer?
No, the thing is, and I agree with you, Prasad. I mean, the thing is, we have been given a set of questions. We need to say that, okay, a person who comes in needs to know the UX process, they need to know this and that and so on, right? But in doing that, we forget that, does that align with the processes that I'm actually using internally? And my processes internally may be based on agile and design sprints and so on, where you may not necessarily have the luxury of doing all these things, or may not have the luxury of doing it the way you learned it in college. Right? And so asking the right questions is very important for the interviewer. But as you said, interviewers can ask them too. I mean, do you really do this? Can you explain? Can you tell us a project that you have done recently? Remember, it's a marriage when you look at jobs or even for a client, right? Long back, I had decided that I'm not going to work with clients who do not align with my thinking. So it's something one needs to think about, that is there a match? So I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know whether that answers the question.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to that, but people do ask a lot of these questions, but then the real when the rubber meets the road, it's a completely different story. But as I think more aware and intelligent designers, because we are designers, we should be able to build that perception as to where all this is going, rather than being reactive, be proactive about the situation and learn for ourselves in advance. And one of the ways is to do the research, right? And research means asking questions. So you should go ahead and ask a lot of questions to the interviewer, and it really helps. Give it a shot and let me know how it goes. There was this
also,
question.
Prasad,
sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
Just to add, right? So I of course do a lot of these interviews. There are a lot of times when you don't have these entire time for the process and so on. So it is also a shirking of responsibility from the designer's point of view. When you say that we don't follow the process, it is the designer's responsibility to bring in the process, however difficult it is. So how do you make sure that you embed those aspects there? These frameworks, methods, tools, they are all asked about in the interview, because it is to know how well you can choreograph those tools. When you ultimately, you don't design for design's sake, you design for the sake of an impact. So how do you choreograph those for frameworks and methods and tools so that you get the right impact? So that's really the intent of asking those. So that's a great question though, but that's the intent.
But I remember, because I think 15 years back when I started research, so research would go on for like 2-3 weeks. You put in the guide and all of that stuff, right? But today it could be done over 2 days. And that's the crux, because we need that answer. And if we guys have practiced it well, I think we should be able to do it much more faster. And that's, I think, what we need to do is, as Samir had mentioned earlier, right? That in the moment, quickly be there, be present, respond, and not get locked down with the same thought that, oh, it will take 3 weeks, because that's a perception anyways the other people have. And that's why UX doesn't move forward. Okay, well, there's a question that came at the very beginning of this webinar by a student, Ayushi, and you had mentioned, Ayushi, that how do you think the after lockdown situation is going to look for students for internships, looking for internships? How are we going to handle that? And it's a very great question, because today I am also kind of dealing with some of the interns at Huge Designs, and we are working together to kind of make sure that their internships get over. So I'll let Girish, Sudhindra, and Samir answer that, and then I'll add my 2 cents as well.
Yeah, nothing really changes. We interns. We have, in fact, 5-6 interns working with us. We have a new batch of interns coming in. So nothing really changes from our perspective. We will kind of put the same number of hours and efforts in training you on certain aspects. We already have either external or internal projects lined up so that you could participate and take the project. There are certain formats of internships, certain requirements from certain colleges. So we follow all of that, and nothing really changes. It's just that you'll have to join virtually. You may feel a bit uncomfortable because that's the first time you'll have an exposure to any company, if that's your really first time. But those are the things that we'll try to alleviate, by constantly being in touch with you.
Yeah, one of the things that I have learned through these internship programs, especially in this lockdown phase, is the more the student eats my head, the better it is, because then I know what's going in the student's mind and what is kind of the thing that I could help with, versus, dear sir, tell me what to do, and then you go ahead and execute it. So it should be kind of other way around, and have that kind of a frank conversation with your guide in the industry, saying that, hey, okay, if that's the attitude that I need to do, what do I do? And keep reminding me to be able to doing so. Yeah.
I also hear that a lot of digital onboarding is happening for new hires. So it's in certain fields there is stoppage of hiring, but whenever hiring is happening, it's not the experience may not be the same as face-to-face onboarding or face-to-face internship. But as Samir said, I mean, there are examples where things are happening. I would also suggest students to also reach out to say that, can I do something to get experience? Because all of us know that everybody is going through financial crunches. And so rather than saying that, okay, I graduated and I need an internship with the 50,000 rupees a month, can I say that I would, my expenses have reduced too, right? Because of lockdowns. I don't have a lot of luxury expenses right now. So can I work at a lower thing, but because I'm more interested in getting my experience.
Yeah. Good. I think there are a few other questions, but I would say go ahead and keep sending us the questions. Our marketing team doing a wonderful job in the background to kind of look at these questions and create another possible session for all of us guys. This last one question I think we should probably take. How does one do user research if the client hasn't asked for it and so isn't included in the sprints? I think my response is that you just poke problems, holes into the problems, and show it to the customer that whatever sprint that you're designing is not going to make any business impact. That's how probably you should first poke into the solution that the business or the product managers have really proposed. A great designer would do that. But yeah, what do you guys feel?
So the first designers were never asked to do user research, by the way. So they did it on their own to actually show the value, like you said, Prasad, just now. So we are never asked. So it's very easy not to ask for designers. At the end of the day, the output of design is on paper. It's a whole lot of PPT and a beautiful wireframes that they see. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't move an inch. So people don't want you to, in a way, right? But the first designers did not do that, we would not be doing what we are doing today. So it's about us finding. So what we do when we get into these kind of situations is to actually create our own research. You do dipstick research, show the value. We go the extra mile, do two options, one without and one with. We actually do all that is required because we know that it is the one-time investment. The moment they see the value, they are going to ask for it. So these are questions that have been addressed quite a lot, because we have kind of traveled their journey. And if designers follow their journey and have that voice, today you have a voice. Today I'm asked, how should HR function in an organization? How should the hiring should be? What kind of compensation? How do you have the compensation structures? So all kinds of questions. How should supply chain be, procurement be? Nobody asked those questions to designers a few years ago. Now they are asking those questions. So make the most of it. Go actually right inside, and then give those valuable advices. For that, you got to work extra hard. It's not enough. Like I think Girish made this point much earlier on. If it's a job you want to join 9 to 5, I don't think you're going to be very far. You won't go very far as a designer. But if it's something that Girish had told me, long back when I was working with him in HFI, on the need to self-learn all the time, and you kind of have to sharpen yourself a lot more, which means you got to put in a lot more extra effort than a regular employee of that organization. So it's not enough. One of the things I've realized the hard way is that as a designer, it is not enough that if you're good, you've got to be the best employee. It's not enough to be a good employee. You got to be the best employee of the lot. There are developers, technology folks, there are testers, marketing professionals, all of them. But designer has to be the best of them all. Otherwise, you are not going to be successful. So whatever is needed to do that, you've got to do because you've signed up for it. You've chosen that field. So those are the things I have realized, and I'd like to offer, to the person who has the question and others as well.
Yeah.
I think a beautiful conclusion of this session with that note that Sudhindra, you mentioned. That was extremely inspiring and eye-opening to be able to kick ourselves in the back and say, get up and get going. Everything else will happen. So with that note, I think it's 8:11. Thanks guys who are online to be extending this time, and the panelists who have taken extra efforts to join this webinar and lend us their knowledge and time. I'm extremely happy with the inputs that I've received. I've learned personally out of this session. So any feedback, any input you guys have, please share with us. You can put into the chat box if you will, or write to us at info@hugedesigns.com. I'll repeat, info @hugedesigns.com. Any things that you feel, hey, there could be subsequent webinars or any workshops or trainings, please feel free to write to us. With that note, I would like to thank all the speakers, the industry stalwarts here, for giving us the knowledge and the energy to take Designer 2.0 to the next level. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you for the online community there. Thank you so much.
And we'll end it with a namaste.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great moderation, Prasad. Fantastically moderated.
That's
Thank
the
you.
wonderful knowledge.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Samir. Thank you, Girish.
Thanks, Girish.
Thank you so much. You have a pleasant
Thanks, Sudhindra. Thanks, Prasad.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.